The dining room always looked its best when people were watching. Polished table, cloth napkins folded just so, the good plates that only came out for holidays or birthdays. It was my mother's house, but the performance belonged to everyone. Appear successful. Appear united. Appear kind. I arrived with my son a few minutes late, which meant chairs scraped, greetings overlapped, and I apologized more than necessary. He slid into his seat with his backpack still on, immediately opening his laptop to finish a problem set. He had learned early that family dinners were noisy but not nourishing. Across from us sat my brother-in-law. He leaned back, confident, already halfway into his second glass of wine. He had that easy way of filling space, of speaking as if the room had been waiting for him to arrive. Conversation moved fast, complaints about traffic, a cousin's promotion, my mother's latest doctor appointment. I stayed mostly quiet. I always did. It made things smoother. Then, inevitably, someone asked my son what he was studying. He answered politely, briefly. Economics. Finals coming up. Busy. My brother-in-law smiled. Not warmly. Amused. Smart, he said, nodding. Then he glanced at me just long enough to include me in what came next. Because, if you don't study, you end up like some people, cleaning floors forever. There it was. Delivered like a joke. A soft punch disguised as humor. Laughter rippled around the table. Not loud, not cruel, worse, comfortable. Familiar, I felt it in my chest, that old tightening. Not surprise. Recognition. This was the role I had been assigned years ago. And everyone knew their lines. I worked in facilities management. Cleaning contracts, maintenance crews, compliance reports. It wasn't glamorous. It was steady. It paid for my son's tuition. It paid for my mother's roof repairs when she couldn't afford them. But the story they told about me was simpler. Easier to laugh at. I looked at my son. He did not look up. His fingers moved across the keyboard, calm, deliberate. Whether he had learned to ignore comments like that, or simply refused to engage, I couldn't tell. Pride and sadness braided together in me, tight and unresolved. The conversation rolled on. Someone made a joke to soften the moment. Plates clinked. Wine was poured. I said nothing. Silence, I had learned, could be many things. Weakness. Wisdom. Preparation. After dessert, when the energy dipped and people leaned back in their chairs, I reached into my bag and pulled out my laptop. No drama, no sigh. Just the quiet click of it opening on the table. My brother-in-law raised an eyebrow. Work at the dinner table now. I smiled faintly. Just something that came to mind. I scrolled for a moment, as if searching for the right file. The room grew quieter, not because anyone expected a confrontation, but because devices always carried the possibility of boredom or intrusion. Speaking of cleaning, I said, keeping my voice even, almost casual, it might be a good time to clarify responsibilities. My mother shifted. She sensed weather changes before clouds appeared. I turned the screen slightly, not to display it theatrically, but enough that those nearest could see columns and headings, names, dates, amounts. You remember the commercial property on Riverside? I continued, looking my brother-in-law now, directly. The one still in Dad's name, but functionally shared. He nodded slowly. Yeah, what about it? I manage the maintenance contracts there, I said. Have for years. Cleaning, inspections, compliance, the less visible work. A pause. The city updated sanitation requirements last quarter. I went on. Which means whoever is listed as primary operator is now personally liable for non-compliance. My brother-in-law straightened slightly. Okay, and since the ownership transfer paperwork was never completed, I said, scrolling again, that operator is still you. The word landed heavier than I expected. Operator, not brother-in-law, not jokester. Operator, someone cleared their throat. I flagged this last month. I added, not accusing, just stating. Sent emails, left messages. I assumed you were busy. He opened his mouth. The inspection is next week, I said. And until the documentation is corrected, I can't continue managing the cleaning crews there. Conflict of interest. The laughter was gone now. Not replaced by outrage or shouting, just absence. Like sound after a door closes, my mother reached out instinctively. We don't need to get into all this tonight, she said softly. Let's keep peace. I looked at her. Really looked. At the lines worry had etched into her face. At the way peace, for her, meant no raised voices, no discomfort, regardless of who paid the price. I am keeping peace, I said gently. I'm just being clear. My brother-in-law exhaled sharp. So what, you're threatening me? No, I said. I'm informing you. The city inspector will be there at 9. I've already notified my team to stand down. He stared at the screen as if it might rearrange itself into a joke again. A cousin murmured something about bad timing. An aunt reached for her phone. The room had shifted into problem-solving mode, but not for me. Around me. What does this mean? My brother-in-law asked. It means, I said, that you'll need to arrange cleaning services that meet code. Or transfer operational responsibility. Either way, it won't be handled casually. The word casually sat between us, echoing the earlier joke. No one laughed. Dinner ended early after that. People gathered plates with unnecessary urgency. Coats were pulled on. Apologies floated, vague and directionless. My brother-in-law didn't speak to me again that night. As my son and I stood to leave, my mother hugged me tightly. I just don't want this family torn apart, she whispered. I nodded. Neither do I. Outside, the air was cold and sharp. My son walked beside me in silence until we reached the car. Then he said, "You didn't raise your voice." "No," I said. "You didn't embarrass him." "I don't think facts are embarrassing," I replied. He considered that. Then nodded once, small but decisive, and got into the passenger seat. Later, lying awake, I thought about what would change and what wouldn't. Some relationships would cool. Some jokes would never be told again. Peace would feel different, less soft, more real. I didn't feel victorious, but I felt intact, and that, I knew, would last longer than laughter.